Coming from the Caveman Studios in Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Caveman Corner with your host, Jeff.
Captain Caveman!
Thanks.
Click subscribe and the bell. Do it now!
And we're live. I'm here with my man, Keenan the Butcher Hinds. He's got the nickname the Butcher, not because he slices everybody up, which he also does, but because he's actually a butcher, man. How are things? How's work?
It's going good, just getting into that holiday season. People are buying stuff like crazy, so I'm cutting from the time I get in to the time I leave, and then it's right to the gym.
With that port strike, did you guys get a lot of people coming in trying to like pack their fridges and food?
Yeah, man, there was a lot of over shopping, a lot of just like trying to put stuff in the ice box, and hey, it's just good business for me, more
Heck
work.
Yeah, sorry, I left my phone on like a rookie, dude. I was getting texts. You gotta shut that shit off so it was on ring. Rookie. Oh, you did the same thing. Look at you. So we're back because obviously you're back again fighting in Cave 4. I got the right one here.
Yes,
Gold standard. We got Matthews versus Hinds. And man, look, you look so different in your picture than you do in real life. I just want to point that out. Your face looks all skinny. Like, I don't know how much weight you cut, but you look considerably different in this picture than you do right here.
I put a lot of time into the diet portion of things. I got a great team around me, so inside the gym, I don't really have to think too much about anything, but outside of the gym, got to dial in the sleep, dial in the diet. I went from intermittent fasting to 72-hour fasting, and then most recently I've hit a new plateau and done a 96-hour, and I'm not afraid to say that because I'm willing to do it to make sure that the fight happens. So yeah.
Is that for weight, or is that to feel good, or is that for body health? Why are you doing like fast?
It's a mix of all three of those things, right? Like obviously the weight first. I try to be as professional as I can and make sure that Keith doesn't have to pull fights from the card. Obviously, people are paying for tickets, respectfully. The other one is health. When I'm not fighting, I'm normal. I like to eat. I'm not gonna lie. So I like to cleanse my body of anything that I've put in it over that time. Not that I'm eating too crazy, but yeah, I just like to kind of get a fresh start on things. And then also it's for the feeling. There's a sense of like awareness and alertness when there's no food in your belly. I mean, I'm sure you understand it. You're a fighter too. That comes from like watching guys like Jack Dempsey, who used to literally just fight for food. And you look at his record and the way he used to fight, there's some tenacity there when you're hungry. So
yeah, for sure. Is it a different feeling? I've tried the long fast. I've done a little bit over 3 days before. I didn't really have trouble like performing, but I had trouble teaching actually. Like I felt like teaching wasn't all that great for me. Like so I teach every class as well as I train myself. So I felt like I was failing at teaching. So I pulled it back a little bit and I started eating again. I like to do the fast in between. So do a lot of carnivore diet. So before I go carnivore, I like to fast and clean everything out before I go carnivore. So like I think it's really good for your body.
Get a fresh reset. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's a sense of like mental fog that happens with your clarity. I used to get it maybe like once a day, but I try to stick to the electrolytes, keep the water high with the protocol and make sure that I'm hitting all those marks for the day. And if my energy gets low, I'm making sure I'm putting a lot of liquids in, tea, coffee, a little bit of caffeine here and there, and just being smart about my activity overall. So, yeah.
I was finding myself hyper focused. I was like I show a move and I stop talking about it. I just keep doing it. And then I was like, oh, what am I doing? I gotta like explain what I'm doing. Like not just do it. Like I don't know. Other than that, I felt great. My body felt great. And then it's really good when you change diets to clean your gut biome like that too. Like everything just feels better when you change your diet.
I mean, I'm looking at it, we're in school season and I got even kids coming in the store that I work in and they're coughing and sick, and knock on wood, I haven't gotten sick yet, because I think the fasting and the way that I'm taking care of my body is helping my immune system and my gut health. So it's working for me on all fronts, in the ring, in the gym, and outside in normal life. Yeah.
So I got to talk about some in-gym stories. I talked to you before just to make sure it was okay to bring this up.
Yeah.
But you came into my gym 3 times ago now, and you swept me. And I was like, motherfucker, that guy got me good. You swept me like twice, dude. I was so mad. I went home and I worked on my sweeps the whole time you were gone. When you came back, I got you 3 times.
Oh yeah,
And then
for sure.
and then you came back again and my back was all messed up, so we didn't get to go again. But next time we come in, we're gonna have a sweep battle.
Yeah, no, for sure, man, for sure. You know, and it's tied up right now, right? So I gotta work on some sweeps too. You know, I got a new bunch of things that I'm working on in the trick bag for sparring. But this next fight is gonna be a K1 fight, so I won't get to sweep as much this time. But I'll definitely have something for you next time I show up.
I'm waiting, and I was really gonna segue into the K1 fight. Like, I think sweeps are some of the best tools that you have in your toolbox. I mean, like I was watching a lot of your fights. That fight with Dylan Tharp, you took over in the sweeps. He's really good at sweeps. The fight against Carlos Gonzalez is the one that really comes to mind.
Yeah,
I thought it was like really even stand-up wise, and then you just started sweeping them, and you swept them over and over and over again. And
yeah.
it's really like a huge tool in your toolbox. Do you feel like going into K1 is gonna that's gonna make a difficult fight for you because you're losing some of your best tools?
Um, I don't think so. I'm a firm believer in less is more, you know. And I think I have to now just focus on what's right in front of me. I don't have to really worry about getting my kicks caught and things like that. Um, it's one of those things where I can just get straight to the action. I don't have to think twice about anything now, you know. So I think it actually works in my favor. So yeah.
I Man, your stand up is really good. Your punches, your kicks are great. I hate to see it. I don't get to see a sweep or elbow. Like that
Yeah,
last fight with elbows was pretty awesome, man. I really like watching you with the big elbow pads on. Like you didn't really throw too many, but I know you throw some in practice, so it's good to see you with the big elbow pads on.
yeah, and that's the thing, you know. I like working all forms of the striking, working all forms of just elbows, knees, sweeps. So I try to keep a healthy idea of it, even in practice. Even if my next fight is not gonna call for it, but at some point, you never know. They might need a fill-in for a Muay Thai fight, so I have to keep those types of things ready. Going back to my second fight with Elian Reyes, I believe his name is. We worked like a lot of just using the teep, using knees, and then the sweeps actually showed up in the fight. And because I was practicing them constantly, I was able to use them without even having to think about it. So my point is just keeping everything sharp is kind of just where I'm at with it. But for this fight, I plan on just knuckling up this time, you know.
Yeah, that Reyes fight, I was really impressed with Reyes, but I felt like the sweeps didn't really play that much of a factor. I felt like you were actually winning the stand-up battles too. It was
Yeah,
just like icing on the cake in that one. So like that's why I didn't bring that one up. But you got sweeps in all your fights. But
yeah.
the like being able to sweep I'm sorry. Being able to sweep Dylan Tharp is huge. Like Dylan Tharp is
Oh
really
yeah,
good. He's
man.
going to sweep everyone except for you. And then Carlos Gonzalez, man, he just pieced up Travis Rivolo.
Yeah, I heard
And
about
man,
that,
it
man.
was like he looked amazing, like so much
Well,
better.
you know, we had the strategy going in with Carlos to just kind of stifle that offense because you can't let all respect to Carlos and his gym. You can't let Carlos get going. You know, if you let him get his rhythm going, he's gonna take off on you and it's gonna turn into a sprint fast. So those sweeps and those knees were something that I knew would, nullify his offense, and I just had to make that happen. That was what the coaches called for. Yep.
And that's so his opponent, Travis Rivolo, um, he went from having an MMA fight into a K1 fight.
Oh
So
wow.
that turned into like a K1 fight, and he wasn't really allowed to clinch. So he kept like trying to do takedowns and clinches, and then he let go and he get hit because he
Yeah.
let go, and like it was tough for him because he didn't adjust to the style that he's fighting. When they exchanged and they were just punching, it was a really good fight, but
Yeah.
he just didn't really have the tools in place, and that's why I
Yeah.
was seeing if you thought that was going to happen to you going from Muay Thai to K1.
Well, speaking of Trav, I don't really speak on other fighters too much, but he definitely should have called me up. I would have helped him get ready for Carlos.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, yeah, adjusting to the K1 rules. I think it's kind of it's overdue for me. I've actually wanted to have a K1 fight for a while now, but I've decided to focus on Muay Thai because that's my more traditional background. That's the gym I come from. That's the lineage I come from. So it kind of just was in line with everything that I was doing. But this just seems kind of like a breath of fresh air for me, and I could refine those other skills. And I think it'll just make me more dangerous for my Muay Thai opponents. So yeah.
I agree with you. Speaking about your gym, we should throw some shout outs to Connects over there down in Jamestown. Hit it up. Tell us why your gym is the best.
Yeah, so my gym's a small gym. You know, we don't do anything fancy. We're like most other gyms as far as the drilling goes, and but I think what sets us apart is the mentality we have. You know, we study the game. I mean, more than any other gym. I personally believe, and you know, I've got my coach Charlie Williams down there. He's a gym rat in his own right. He's a genius. I give it to him. Matt Johnson, you know, he trained under Crew Mark in the WTBA system, and so did Charlie Williams. So I have that, you know, the science of the game, you know, the studying, the film studying, the drilling, but then I also have the hardships of the game where it's not sweet and we're not taking it easy on each other. We're making sure we're ready for these fights, you know. So I get the best of both worlds, you know, and I even had Crew Mark down leading up to the start of this camp. He came in, popped in for a few hours, helped out with some elbows, and you'd be amazed how much that man can teach you in a 2 hour period.
Oh no, dude, he like rains knowledge down
Dude,
on you, dude. It's like just raining on you.
I was blown away. I mean, I literally have a couple pages of notes just from the few, you know, hours that he spent around me. And then the war stories that he has are just they're amazing. So, and then to see like how all of that is branched out from Kinetics, and you know, shout out to Josh Roth for giving us the facility to work in as well. You know, it just makes it that much more important to me to represent properly every time I get in the ring. And you know, when I step out and I come to your gym or I go to another gym, you know, I make sure that they know like, hey, this is where I'm coming from, and I got killers on my side too. And there's a long line of them, young and old. So yeah.
Yeah, watching you guys spar was really amazing. I don't often get to just sit and watch sparring. Normally, I'm involved in
Yeah,
the
you're in the
sparring.
mix.
But watching you guys spar was really nice watching you spar. You guys look really good moving around. We didn't have the heat on this time. I forgot. I just thought about it now. I was like, man, we didn't even have the heat on. That's why I haven't sparred so long. Usually
Yeah,
it's like
man,
110 in there,
everyone was
guys.
going for rounds, but you know, I think coming down to your gym really does help put that, you know, icing on the cake, because there is something in your gym that I don't get anywhere else. There's a level of intensity, you know, that comes with walking into integrity. So, and again, I know that's from training under Crew Mark and the WTBA system, that I'm only gonna find that here and there in certain gyms. So it's a sweet spot. Your gym's a sweet
Yeah.
spot for me, you know, for
We
sure.
got old crew Mark before he got all civilized.
Oh yeah, I know. I sat down with him and I talked to him, and you know, I was like, you know, how are things? And he was like, I'm old now, you know, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but I could still tell, you know, he's still got that look in his eye. So I always
Yeah.
know, you know.
Crew Mark is probably the most dangerous old guy I know. I would not ever say anything about him.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
call him
no,
Uncle
no.
Mark. Yeah,
No,
he's
you
one of the
you, you
best.
don't want to
Dude.
get caught in the elevator with that guy and he's pissed off.
No, man, I like so like he leg kicked me once before my fight, and I had this giant bruise going into the fight. Like we used to train like hard right to the weigh-ins day. Like it was
Yeah,
different. There was
yeah,
no like, oh, let's go leg today. No, we're like full sparring like the day before the fight. It's crazy,
yep,
man. Like old
yeah.
school.
And I've heard about his preparation methods, you know, even his pad holding is like almost legendary, you know, like
Yeah.
just not allowing you to be lazy, not allowing you to make those silly mistakes. He knows when you're taking a rep off, you know, he's gonna sweep you if your legs aren't set, your base isn't set. And speaking of those leg kicks, yeah, that was one of the first things he came in. He showed it, you know, how to leg kick and the proper footwork and the spacing for it. And to be quite honest, I'd never felt a leg kick like that before, even in my few fights. Like I was like, this is different. You know what I mean? And he wasn't even trying. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's something I can get with, you know, like the knowledge is there and it matches with the technique. It's not just talk. So you can't do anything but soak up game from him, you know. I
Yeah,
loved it.
dude,
Yeah.
he's like teaching us calf kicks back in like 2013, like
It's
before anyone was
crazy.
doing it. Like he was all on it. I just posted a picture yesterday of him showing John Bones Jones that spinning back elbow that hit Stephen
Yep.
Bonner with.
Yeah.
And, like he literally showed him that like 2 weeks before the Stephen Bonner fight, and he hit it just like Mark showed him like 2 weeks later. So that's like one of the coolest stories I have about.
And that just speaks to how much of an imprint he has, and the wealth of knowledge, but also the value of what he's giving you. It's stuff that's applicable right then and there. As
the
soon as you
highest
see it,
levels too.
yeah, it's high level stuff, and he doesn't have to try to show you anything crazy. It's just but it's the same thing with Charlie. It's the same thing with Matt. My coaches, they show you what works in applicable situations. There's no tricks. There's no fancy smancy stuff to it. It's like, this is what we need. This is the bread and butter. Make a goddamn sandwich.
I don't know. Your codes are kind of fancy.
Yeah, they're fancy, but again, that's more for that's just for the war side of things. Charlie's a big history buff, so he's very tactical in his mindset. So I think that comes with it. But again, I told you he's a evil genius.
Yeah, our codes are way different. You guys got like all fancy codes. We're like baby maker, Arby's. Like we got like football codes. You guys got. Like,
oh yeah, for sure. We got a whole playbook. We got a whole playbook, and that's why I think our camps are one of a kind, because you're not just getting the punches and the kicks and the combinations. You're literally rewiring your brain. From the footwork, he's teaching you how to walk again in a fighting stance, getting your base right, putting your hand position right, and the codes are kind of just the icing on the cake. They're kind of just, that's our lingo. That's how we talk in the gym. So it sounds crazy to you guys, but that's just how we talk in the gym.
It makes me feel like a bad coach when you guys are using
No, stop it.
I can't say it to myself. I don't got no coach for myself. I can't like yell at myself. I feel terrible every time I spar. You got Charlie yelling at you, and I'm like waiting for my guys yelling at me. All my guys are sparring.
No, I think it comes with time. And you can look at all the fighters that have fought for us so far, from Kyle and Faulkner, myself. We all have grown with our coach, and the culture in the gym has grown. So it comes with that territory. I mean, we got Logan Alexander fighting. He's got his debut coming up. Dude's a beast. He's an animal, heavyweight, fighting at 230. He's extremely fast for a heavyweight. He's got an edge to him. You don't want to catch that guy on a bad day either.
That was the guy that comes with you, right?
Yeah, that's the heavyweight.
Yeah.
With us, and he moves around like one of us. He's come up with us too.
He does. We had some wars, man. I like that kid a lot.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. He's a hell of a fighter. And then you got Joe Rivera. He's gonna be fighting the K1 fight as well. He's a little bit newer, but the thing is about Joe, he's such a quick learner that you wouldn't know, right? Like, he's caught on to the lingo. He's caught on to the sparring. He's caught on to pretty much all the drills really quick. And me and him have just been going back and forth. And, it's one of those things where I get in the gym and I know for a fact sometimes there's a loudmouth in there. Joe's not the loudmouth. He comes, he shows up to work, and he'll give it to you, and he won't say a thing. So it's good to have a guy like that across from you.
I watched him do a few rounds too, man. I'm excited to watch him fight. Like,
yeah.
It's gonna be good. Like the best and worst thing about my job is most of the stuff I get for the fights is all in the training room. I can't really talk about it to like sell the fights, because like for guys that don't have a fight, I can't tell you what they do. I can tell you they're pretty good and I know what they're gonna do. But once I get on the broadcast and I can speak freely, I really enjoy that I get all the time from you guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think, coming down to your gym helps us kind of find the level of intensity that we need, like I said, to make sure that what we're doing is going to stick, because I'm sure you've had it happen. You get caught in the vacuum. You're sparring with the same 5 guys all the time, and you know what each other's going to do. Even when you're rolling, when you're doing jiu-jitsu, you might know that guy's tricks, his ins and outs. So coming to your gym, going to other gyms like Southtown, we've actually worked with those guys a few times this camp, and the level of intensity that they bring there, it's unparalleled. Every gym has its own feel, and that's what we need. It's just bringing everybody to the next level. So yeah,
I
I'm
like that we're
excited.
all able to get together too. And you're just like, hey, can I come down? I'm like, yeah, sure, man. And then we get like a bunch of people, and like it
I'd
turns out
love
to be a
it.
pretty fun time, dude, every time.
I'd love it, man. I'd love it.
But I gotta say, you gotta like pay attention to what jujitsu matches are going on because every time you come down, like I am beat the shit from the tournament. Like the day before, the tournament's Saturday, you guys always come to spar Sunday. Like,
Yep.
man, it's tough.
You
Like,
caught me. You caught me off guard. I saw you walking. I was like, man, did he pull a muscle or something? I was really concerned there, man.
yeah, dude, my back was bad that day. Like, I barely stand up. It was bad for a whole week. I had
Yeah.
to take like 5 days off, man. It was rough.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, I really wanted to get those rounds in with you, man. That's for me. That's like the exclamation mark of the whole sparring session. It's like when
Mine
we
too,
get
man.
going. Heck
I
yeah.
enjoy getting it in with you, dog. It's the best. So we got to look at your opponent now. You are fighting Wendell Matthews Jr.
Yep.
and his record's not all that great. He's 0-1 in MMA and 1-3 in like fighting and Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
He's got 3 Muay Thai fights and a kickboxing fight.
Yep.
But he's fighting Warriors Cup. He's fighting in the USKA tournament. He's
Right.
fighting in stellar fights. All the
Yep.
fights that he's fighting on are like very high level fights. So do you take an opponent like this lightly, or what do you take into like fighting a guy like this?
I try not to take anybody lightly, and at a glance, it looks like the record doesn't look that good, right? But then you look at the caliber of opponent, and it's like, oh wow, his record doesn't really show the body of work that he's doing. His resume is actually really good, so it can be deceiving. But that kind of just led me to just go find out who this guy is, and even still find out who his opponents are to figure out what's going on behind the scenes. And I watched a couple fights, and they were close. The scorecards don't really tell what happened in those fights, and his record doesn't even tell what happened in those fights, respectfully. So it led me to just make sure that I took the extra time to pay attention to what this guy's doing and making sure that he doesn't catch me with any crazy unexpected shots. But I have a healthy respect for this guy, and like every other opponent, but more so because his record it's not something that you can put on paper, right? Like you kind of had to be there, and if you watch the opponents he's fought, they're not slouches. None of
No,
them.
not at all.
So
Like,
yeah,
man, Gamma does almost all his fights, but Warriors Cup is no joke. It's like the best Muay
yep,
Thai. And it's New
yep.
York City, dude. It's about as best as you can get until you
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
California. It's like New York City, California. Where else are you gonna go to
right.
get the best Muay Thai? And like those guys are for real. And looking at the fight, I was like, man, why is he fighting a guy that's 1-3? I didn't even look at it until we were about to go on a podcast, and I kind of caught some of his fights. I'm like, man, why would you take this fight? This is crazy because the guy's record's not that good, but he's pretty good. Like this
Yeah,
is like it's almost like a lose-lose. Like if you lose the guy, like, oh man, you lost the guy that's 1-3. If you beat him, you're like, oh wow, you beat a guy that's like 1-3. But this dude is good. Like this is no joke. It's I have a fighter, Derek Patterson, and he's a
right.
pro now, but he was amateur, and for a
He
while he was
had,
like 2-6.
yeah,
And he was like his record was not anywhere indicative of how good he was.
yeah,
And then he started catching some knockouts, but people didn't want to fight him because he's 2-6 and he's knocking dudes out, like,
yep.
and he's super. He just didn't know how to grapple when he started. Like he was getting tapped
Mhm.
out. Like I don't know why he
Well,
fighting MMA without grappling, but like it's tough.
there's a few points I can make there. Firstly, just me being a fan of like traditional boxing and also being a fan of golden age Muay Thai, right? Like sometimes you got to get in the ring to have that progress that you're not finding in the gym. So every fight is an entire learning experience for you where you can add layers to your game. I mean, take me for example. Every fight I try to add something to my game. And then the other point being just like him having the opponents that he has, they push him even further every single time. So I don't look at the record as something that really stands as a standard for the fighter. I look at what they're doing inside the ring. And yeah, maybe he gains more from this than I do, and he continues on this route because I don't plan on losing. But he continues on this route, and he'll be a better fighter than most guys with a winning record when he chooses to go pro, or he's 6 or 7 more fights in. So it's not something that I take lightly at all. The level of intensity is actually really high when I'm training, because I know all it takes is a guy with nothing to lose to take everything from me. So yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You were just in like a title fight, pretty much. I mean, you just fought. Your last fight, it was, man, it was a tough loss to Gabe Vega, but it was a great fight, and now
Yeah.
you're fighting this guy. Like it's like I was like, man, it's K1 too. So I was like, oh no, what's going on?
Yeah.
Um, at first I thought it was just like, oh, he's bouncing back to get a win, and then I saw this guy. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. I love that you're doing that. And the way I'm saying it, it sounds like I'm putting you down, but it takes a real man to go in there and fight these kind of fights. These are fights that, like, today's fighters, they don't want fights like this. They want, like, to pad your record. This is not a pad your record fight. This is
No.
a real legitimate fight, and I honestly can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like I think it goes back to what we're talking about, right? Like, even if he has a losing record, he's taking the fights that is going to help him progress. And even if I have a winning record, I'm looking to do the same thing. Me fighting Gabe Vega, I could have easily sat on my victory over Carlos for 6 to 8 months and rode that horse out for however long. But I chose to take one of the most dangerous fighters in K4 and step in there with him and see what happened. It didn't go my way, but I think I'm ultimately better for it. I've got more experience. I know what it is to be a dead man walking towards the ring. You know what I mean? And survive.
Can I stop right here?
Sure.
So, like, you're a guy that does not make any excuses, and I want to bring this up because you will never say this publicly. But what can you give us a little bit of what was going on into the lead up into that fight, please?
So I mean, like you said, I don't want to take away anything from my last opponent and his team. But I had some things going on leading up to the fight, like you said. My training camp was amazing. I told you I got a great team around me. But a couple weeks before the fight, I was actually attacked by a pit bull. And I was doing a favor for a friend. I'll keep the story short. I went over to their house. I'm a butcher, so I went to take him a few cuts of meat. And as I'm walking through the door, I get greeted by a dog, and everything was fine. I shooed the dog off, and before I knew it, he was on top of me, and he took a chunk out of my face. He tore through my lip, and he had me looking pretty bad. And all the fights I've been in, I've never been done that bad. So I had to get about 15 or 16 stitches. I got my lips sewed up all the way down. If you look at me, it's a pretty good scar, but you can't tell. And I talked to the doctor, told me the stitches would be out in 10 days. So I waited the 10 days. I just drilled lightly. But I wasn't able to spar. I wasn't able to drill at the level I wanted to. Once the stitches came out, I kind of just had to continue with the light stuff, technical sparring. And I don't feel like I had my edge last time. I had to do more to get myself amped up for that fight, because I feel like I was a little bit drained from that situation. And it took something out of me that I didn't think was there. I keep a reserve of energy to use for these fights, and I feel like that situation really took it out of me. So it really was to my own detriment at that point. But I refuse to pull out of fights. I refuse to make excuses. If I sign a contract, or I make weight, I'm showing up on fight day. It doesn't matter what's happening. But yeah, I got attacked by a dog, a week and a half to 2 weeks before my last fight, and it affected my performance a little bit.
I like that you don't ever use that excuse either. Like, you didn't. I asked you after the fight, did you have problems in camp? You're like, nah, I was just, he's just better, and that made me feel bad because, like, the whole broadcast, I was like, man, Keenan just doesn't look like himself. Like, if you watch and you listen to my commentary during the fight, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, Keenan's just a little bit off tonight. There's just something not right. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's why I asked you after, and you're like, no, that's fine.
I think if we're just talking from a striking standpoint, the lack of sparring, it screwed with my timing a little bit. So I wasn't able to put things together the way I wanted to. And again, that's no excuse. I didn't do everything I should have done in that fight, but there were some factors where I could have been sharper in some areas, and I think that did affect it. But all praises to Gabe and his team.
Mhm.
They did an amazing job prepping for that. So I'll continue
Yeah,
to praise.
I this is not taken away from Gabe at all. I thought he fought the best fight, and
Yeah,
in the write up, I had to eat some crow because I said that you were gonna like be a more technical fighter, and he ended up being a more technical fighter, and
no,
like
that
I
that's
told him
what
I'd eat
happens.
up to it, and like
Yeah,
it is what it is. Like I just say what I see and what I think.
no, yeah, and that's what I love about you. You call it like it is, but the reality is, man, like we're in there to push each other. And I think that fight made him better, and it made me better. So all in all, it was a positive, regardless of what happened in the lead up. And I got a nice, cool scar from it. So
Yeah, dude, and
I'm
now he's
happy.
at WNY MMA too, so like maybe he'll come in and he'll spar with us too when next time you guys come up,
Yeah,
and
it's all good work, man. I'm a competitor, so and like I said, I'm an avid fan of old school boxing, amateur boxing, and Muay Thai, and I know that those guys they fight each other 3, 4, 5 times, so it's not something that like one and done. If we get a rematch at some point, I'm happy about that. But until that happens, I'm gonna keep chugging along, and I'm gonna take the opponents that are game. Like my opponent now, Wendell. 5'10", lanky guy. Um, I've got to do a lot to make sure that I neutralize that height and that length. Completely different from my last opponent, so it's new for me. And the partners that I've had and that I train with, they give me the perfect looks, that are similar to him, and I'm just excited to see what comes out when I get in the cage for a K1 fight.
I honestly think that you're better against taller opponents anyways. I think your footwork patterns match a taller fighter better. Like you don't do as good of a job using your length against shorter guys. I think maybe you're not used to it as much. You have a very good entries into your exchanges, and I
Yeah.
feel like your footwork's really good, much better against taller people.
Yeah, I'm usually the smaller guy, so it's one of those things that I'm still getting used to. Um I get I get once in a while I'll get that guy that's my size and I get excited. I get excited, because now he's able to match my speed. He's able to cut those angles and I just get my blood gets rushing and I love it. That's why I'm willing to go to these other gyms and find guys that are my size. So in the future, I hope I can get more guys that are right around my weight class, and I'll let any fighter know, like, hey, I'll show up at your gym and we'll just work. I don't do ego sparring. I'm not there to kill anyone. I just want to get better and to find opponents that are, 135 pounds, 125 pounds, my height. It's like Christmas for me.
I
So
think you're actually bigger than me when we spar, even though you fight smaller. Um, I just I'm always like the same weight, so
yeah, no, this last camp, I had to blow up a little bit. And I don't take any pride in that, but I had to blow up a little bit to help Logan get ready. Because I mean, you've probably held pads for big guys before.
yeah.
They
Uh-huh.
hit the pads and they're knocking you across the mat.
Yeah.
So I put on a little extra muscle, no fat, just a little extra muscle to make sure that Logan had a good base for his camp. And Kylan also had a fight back in May. He did amazing. Shout out to Kylan Faulkner. Um, I had to hold pads for those guys and I had to spar with them and get them ready. So I had to equip my body and fortify my body for that. And I did a lot of Len Chen sparring, like, just constantly conditioning to make sure that my body was armored up for that. So I probably came in a few times looking a little bigger than I am, but a little extra juicy. But yeah,
Yeah, I
now
like it.
I'm nice and slender.
Awesome, man. Um, so fights are October 19th. That's next
So,
Saturday.
yep.
If you want to get tickets, I already put the streamer across. I'll put it down again. You can go to buffaloriverworks.com and you can get tickets. The event is called Gold Standard. The doors open at 5. Fights start at 6. When you buy your ticket online, once you go through the pay part, there's a promo code. Hit promo code, enter K4 Hinds, and Keenan will get credit for the ticket sales.
Yeah.
These fighters don't make any money for participating in these fights besides for what they get for helping sell tickets. So it's really important if you can go to the fight, just buy a ticket from the guys. There's nothing extra, and the fighters get some of the money instead of it just all going to the promoter. So while I work for the promoter, I want him to get all the extra money. That's fine if you don't know a fighter, but if you know a fighter, make sure you hook him up. If you don't know a fighter and you're watching this, hook up Mr. Hinds here, K4 Hinds.
Yeah,
we got a guy on the card. Otherwise, I'd send all my guys to give you money, but we got a guy on the card, so all our money's got to go to him.
Nah,
Go for Hernandez. Let's go.
I get that fight of the night this time. You know that.
Yeah. We got 4 bonuses to give away. Caveman's Corner's giving away $100. Knockout of the night, submission of the night, and both participants of fight of the night get $100. So
yeah,
we're back with. Well, I'm back with my $100 bills. I'm still waiting for like $20 from Ray. So I'm sure it'll come someday.
Oh boy, yeah. But also, speaking about my opponent, it's one of those things where he's kind of a question mark to me also. So I'm expecting, and I was just talking to my coach about this. I'm expecting some things like I want to see how much he's grown since his last fight. And I think that's a bigger thing for me. When I see a guy take a little bit of time off, if there's nothing going on in his personal life, obviously, I'm always curious as to what new layers he's added, because I'm sure you've had it where you took a little bit of time off, you looked at your last fight and you're like, okay, what did I do wrong? And then you brought something new to the table. And that's what I'm expecting on fight night. I'm expecting a similar guy to the film, but almost a brand new opponent. So I'm trying not to leave any stones unturned, and I don't want any surprises unless they're coming from me.
I think so I listen to a lot of like Joe Rogan's podcast. He always talks about like when you release a set, you got to make a whole new set, and you got to put all this time and energy into developing new skill sets. And I really look at fighting pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
Every time we got a fight, it's like we did our set of comedy, and we need to have a whole new set of tools because everyone just saw the tools we used. If we're not growing, like we're gonna get found out. And you see the best guys in the world, they're always adding new wrinkles to their game. Like when you look at Shevchenko, she doesn't fight the same every time. She went from a striking heavy attack to grappling heavy attack, back and forth. Like you need to be able to put wrinkles into your game. You need to be able to adjust your opponent. So you always need to be adding new skills.
I agree. I mean, I've been watching a lot of guys, but the one that's been standing out to me, he hasn't had, the best luck lately, but like a Corey Sandhagen, premier striker, but he's been adding more layers to his game every single fight. And that's one of those things that I think you have to do to continue to blossom. Even if you go away from what you do originally, at least continue to add things so guys aren't looking at you as predictable, and then that even allows you to go back to things, once guys start to see these new habits. So you might see me bring something back that I haven't done in a while, and that's part of the game. That's part of the growth. I think people forget that, forget all the humble stuff. We're martial artists, right? And we have a set of skills, and we have to continue to grow these skills and sharpen and refine them. So I've refined a lot of things this camp, but I think I've added some things that, they're gonna surprise a few people for sure.
I got some stuff I can't say on the podcast, but when I'm doing a broadcast, I got some stuff to say about like some of the improvements I've seen from the last time you were inspiring to this time that you're inspiring. Like I always got my eye out. I'm always watching. So I'm really looking forward to watching you fight.
Yeah, for sure. And I took a page out of the the tips you gave me last time I was there. Again, I won't say too much, but yeah, that was one of those things where it was like, if he can see that, I know my opponent can see it. So there's no time to play around and act like it's not there, or he's just down talking me. Like I really sat around and studied myself for a while, and I was like, okay, he's not wrong. Let's get this right. So I appreciate it.
You fixed the withdrawal of that tool that we were talking about. That's one of the things I noticed immediately.
Yeah.
We actually talk about that a lot because I don't know, Crew Shaw showed me that, and no one really does that. So I don't know. Like
It kind of went hand in hand, right?
yeah,
I came down to your gym and you brought it up. And then the next couple weeks he actually showed up. So
yep.
I went from having like a rough idea of what you told me to now him walking in and showing me what to fit. So I was like, this is like, I love how the universe just works these things out, It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
So yeah,
It's so cool because we're all kind of a big family for the WTBA. So
for sure,
like
man.
Crew Keith, Crew
Yeah.
Roth, Josh Roth was a crew too. Like I was like, he
Yeah.
probably doesn't even like
Yeah.
do much striking anymore, but man, he's so good too. I was at his crew test, and dude, like I felt bad for people holding the pads. Like, that's the first
Yeah.
time I felt bad for the pad holders, and not
That's
the
those
striker.
pads, man. Seriously, he's a beast, And I think one day, when I get a little further along and some more experience, I'll take that trip out to Oregon and, do that camp and try to get, maybe get a little status there too, because it's one of those things that the further I get along and I help teach kids classes here and there Tuesdays and
Mhm.
Thursdays, I want to see what that's like, and I think it's part of the journey as well. Just going back to that growth we were talking about, seeing where all that comes from. And
It
sometimes,
was hot.
yeah, exactly. So I really want to see what that's like, but eventually, I think that's something I want to do.
Awesome, man. Well, I can't wait to see you fight. We've been on for like 40 minutes. I'll let you get out here. I know you got stuff to do. Remember K4 Hinds, so he gets credit for the ticket. That'll be your promo code when you fill out right before you end the cart. And
Yes,
then
sir.
Keenan will get credit for the fights. I can't wait to see you, sir.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
I can't believe you're fighting K1, which makes me sad. So I want to see how your sweeps are. But I'll sweep you next time you're in the gym, and then it'll work out really good.
You guys heard it here first, man. All right.
We'll have the video in the next time.
Hey, hold on now. No, but yeah, I want to just give a big shout out to Integrity Martial Arts, Kinetics, Combat Fitness, all of my coaches, Matt Johnson, Charlie Williams, Crew Mark. Thank you, Caveman, for having me. Ray, I hope to see you soon, man. We always get
Yeah.
good rounds in. And again, look out for Logan Alexander and Joe Rivera. Anybody that's coming down to see us, I want you guys to bring your energy. To anybody watching this, just make sure you bring your energy. I feed off that more than anything, So yeah, thank you guys.
Can't wait to watch your fight, man. Like it's two great guys. Like his record's not great, but this fight is gonna be great. So
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
people don't miss it.
We're gonna put on a good show. We're gonna put on. He's
It's
a
gonna
game.
be an amazing fight. I don't.
Yeah.
There's gonna be like. They're gonna be like that guy's 1-3. I swear to God, people are gonna be saying that when you guys start moving, and it
Oh
looks so
yeah,
good. It's gonna look like a main event fight. It really will.
yeah.
So
We're
I'm
gonna put on a
excited
good
to see it.
show, man. I'm excited.
All right, guys, don't forget Zion Clark is headlining this card. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to see an adaptive performance athlete go at it. I can't even tell you how crazy it's going to be to see him and Brandon Hay do a grappling match at the end of the show.
It's gonna be a banger. Yeah.
If you don't know who he is, this man has he was born without legs, and he wrestled for Kent State. He is a purple belt level in jiu-jitsu. He's like about 130 pounds and nothing but muscle, and he's a very amazing person. You can go to
No
zionclark.com and
excuses.
check out his website. I'm sorry, what was that?
No excuses.
No excuses, dude. He is the man of no excuses. Like you're gonna go home and you're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna get in the gym tomorrow after you see this fight, and that's just gonna be such a great card. It's probably one of the most exciting K4 cards we've ever put on. So watch Keenan, watch him look to dominate his opponent. Just so you know, your opponent wasn't on, and Caveman's Corner has a 100% win rate for everyone that comes on Caveman's Corner has won in K4. Normally, that's because we have both people on, but no one's lost has been on K4.
Hey, I'll take it. Take it.
Yeah,
A
or
win's a
been
win.
on the Caveman's Corner podcast on K4.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Thank
With
you for
that,
having
we
me.
are out, sir. Thank you. Sir,